We got Doug in Michigan back on the regular phones. We had some trouble with Skype earlier. Doug, thanks for calling back. You were going to tell us about somebody in your jail or the prison that you work in there in Michigan. So go ahead.
Yeah, I just interacted with this inmate today who he's a Canadian national. He owns a business in one of the provinces of Canada. He's like a tour guide. He takes these people that come in from all over the world and he takes them out on hunting excursions, and they they do their hunting and then they go home. Well, anyway, one of his clients was a Mexican national who would come up there, and he shot some sort of deer. I don't know exactly what breed it was, but it's a very controlled species. And part of the contract that he had with this guy is he would ship the antlers from this deer to this individual after they got home. So he did that, and this deer is not protected under Canadian law at all. It wasn't illegal under Canadian law to do anything that he did, but this guy shipped these antlers to this guy down in Mexico. Well, the flight that the package was shipped on had a layover in Chicago. Well, in Chicago, they inspected the plane and found these deer antlers. And come to find out, it's illegal in the United States to ship these to even kill these deers.
Even so, the deer, just to be clear, hold on, just to be clear, the deer was shot by someone within the boundaries of Canada.
Exactly, by an individual that
From
is a Mexican national.
This is crazy.
And he is going to, because he can't have these deers shipped when he can't bring these antlers with him as he travels, he has them shipped to his home of origin. Well, the shipment had a layover in Chicago.
Right.
Government thugs came on board the plane, found the deer antlers, realized it's from this species that's endangered, and decided that this individual needed to be in jail.
Wow.
So they indicted him from the United States to Canada. They indicted him. Canada, being I almost said a bad word, but I didn't. Being very passive as they are, they allowed him to be extradited to the United States.
Wow, just like they did with Mark Emery.
Exactly. Mark Emery to the T. United States, they prosecuted him. He did 3 years in prison. He got a 3-year sentence for doing something that was not illegal in the country that he was living in.
So crazy.
But he's going to do. It's insanity.
And so
how much is he going to do on that 3 years?
80%, right? If it's federal.
Yep, no parole.
Okay.
Nope. He's going to do 2 years, 8 months, whatever.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I mean, well, this is even worse of a miscarriage of justice than the Mark Emery situation, because Mark Emery is shipping seeds to the United States. This guy was shipping antlers to Mexico, and the plane upon which the antlers were being shipped, through no fault of his own, from what I can tell,
had FedEx or DHL or whoever flown straight from one point in Canada to a point in Mexico, then it would have been fine.
Right. I mean, this is insane, and this just goes to show the failing of the grand jury system. The grand jury system was set up to prevent sort of miscarriages of justice like this, and this just goes to show. I'm sorry, I know people love it, but I've got to say that putting justice in the hands of amateurs is a bad idea. Because what happens is these twisted prosecutors. What?
Was this a jury trial? Do we know? Did he take a plea?
No. Nobody has a jury trial in the federal system. Nobody does.
Wow.
It's so minuscule. No, he had to cop a plea. If he didn't cop a plea, he was going to do probably 15 years.
Holy crap.
So he had to cop a plea to only get the small sentence that he got. So, I mean, nobody gets a jury trial.
And this is another thing, another miscarriage of justice within the system is there should never be a plea bargaining system. The plea bargains only benefit two people. The government employees we employ to do a job. That job is to administer justice, and guilty people. So everybody should get a day in court. If it's important enough to put somebody in prison for an amount of years, it's important enough to have a jury trial. There should be no plea bargains.
Yep.
Doug, anything else you want to share about the story? It sounds pretty outrageous.
No, that I hear about it every. You know what? I could call you guys once a week with a story like this. Really,
I bet you could. I bet you could.
It's mind-boggling what I see.
Thanks for the call tonight, man. I do appreciate hearing from you. That's Doug. He works in a what sounds like a federal prison there in Michigan. And there's always stories. I mean, everybody's got a story in prison. Sometimes they're telling you the truth. Sometimes not so much. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Let's go to Pugnacious Pete in Long Beach. You're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, this is even more reason why I stick to my theory. Article 3, Section 3 says that if you do treason, you need to be hung till you're dead. You know, I mean, this is egregious. When are they going to stop violating our rights? And what's going to happen for the people to say enough? Do they have to be in prison?
I don't know. What do you
have
think?
To lose all their stuff?
Well, what do you
think? What do I think?
Yeah, what do you think?
What's it going to take?
What's it going to take?
They lose, it's like that Dead Kennedys album, Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death. If you take convenience from these people and they don't have running water, they don't have their TV, they don't have their microwave, they don't have convenience, they're going to go nuts. And, you know, there ain't no MRAD or anything that's going to be able to contain this idolatrous public in this country when stuff hits the fan. What do you think is going to happen? People are going to eat each other. If you don't have Taco Bell and McDonald's and KFC in this country, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's what it's going to take for there to be a general rebellion. However, I don't trust the general public. The general public has sat by and let this stuff go on. I don't trust them in a general revolt either. I think that what has to happen is people who are of like minds need to get in certain geographic areas. Otherwise, you're just going to have a repeat of what goes on. That's one of the reasons they call them revolutions, because it just revolves around again. It's the same thing over and over. The Romans called them the hoi polloi, the unwashed masses. And I don't have any love or respect for those people. Yes, they should decide for themselves what their life's to be like, but I don't trust them. They're unqualified, nosy, and lazy as far as I'm concerned.
Well, let me ask you something, okay? The Freedom State. I don't like really freezing weather. I lived in Utah for a while and stuff, but I mean, you know, everybody's talking about this Freedom State project and stuff, and now New Hampshire is the best of the best. I mean, there are other few states that have decent stuff, but I mean, what's so good about New Hampshire? I don't have $1 million to travel over there right now. I mean, if that was so good and I had the money, I'd go there. Or if I had money, I'd go to another country. I mean,
good question, Pete. Good question. If you love liberty, and I don't know if you do.
Mexico lives better than us, and freaking Michael Hastings says that Russia's better than here. So, I mean, it's
Pete, thanks for the call. I appreciate hearing from you. I don't know if you're a liberty-minded person, Pete, but for those who are, New Hampshire's the best choice. If you don't love freedom and you aren't willing to give it to other people, even the people that are weird, then you don't really belong in New Hampshire. But New Hampshire's great because there's lots of reasons. In fact, there's the 101 reasons to move to New Hampshire. You can go to freestateproject.org, and there's a fairly prominent link up in their menu system that'll get you to the 101 reasons. And I suspect if you do freestateproject.org/101 reasons, I think it comes up. But that, to me, was a very persuasive document as to why to consider. And
that's an old document. Has it been updated?
It's been updated a couple of times. It does need another update. And, in fact, I know the guys from the 101 Reasons film documentary crew
are working on it,
are doing that or are going to commence doing that very shortly, because there's a documentary that's basically going to take the text version of the 101 Reasons and turn it into a movie.
Yeah, I mean, lots of people talk about lots of different places. I run a web page on Facebook, a Facebook page, documenting the sort of Move Here projects for the Liberty Movement. And essentially, there is the Free State Project, there's a couple of other pretenders, and then there's a bunch of failures. You might find more freedom for the type of life you want to live in some other place, but you won't find people who are talking about the ideas of liberty there.
We will come back with more. You can share your thoughts. 855-450-FREE. It's Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.